All right, welcome to this video. We are going to talk about the epidemic of the masculine women in Western society. This is something that needs to be brought out into the open more and more because it is a huge problem and creates all kinds of dysfunction and leads society into a downward spiral. So let's get right into it. If you are a man, a single man, and you've noticed that women have changed the last 15 years, you've noticed that it's hard to kind of make connections, or maybe you're a woman and you can't find a masculine man anymore, then you're going to really want to pay attention to this video because I'm going to explain exactly what's going on here. All right, let's get into it. If you're new to this channel, my name is Max. I am a teacher, instructor, and I teach on various subjects. And I love psychology, and this is really at the crux of helping to resolve society's problems. Now, with that said, I am going to be speaking in generalities in this, and I may also use adult language, aka vulgar language. So if you have kids in the room, you might want to put this away until later. And all right, we're going to get right into it. So, a major issue today is the whole generation of women from 18 to 40 who have turned into masculine women. And it's not truly masculine women. We have the shell of a masculine woman. So what's going on here is most women are feminine at their core. And this is who they are. This is how they want to be. This is how nature intended them to live, is from this feminine core that has feminine energy all pulsing through it. Okay? Feminine energy all through that feminine core. Now, society is directing women to go into these masculine roles and to adopt masculine linear type of thinking in order to fulfill these masculine roles. And this started in the first wave feminism in the 1920s, and in the second wave feminism in the 1960s, and now we're in the third wave of feminism, and the women have got more and more and more away from their true nature. So what happens is they start adopting this fake masculine. And the fake masculine is like this. It's like a shell. And the shell is a form of an ego state. And this ego state is protecting their true self, which is their feminine self. It's not because it needs to be protected, it's because it hasn't been cultivated out, because society has never valued the feminine. And society doesn't teach women how to effectively navigate society through the feminine energy. The feminine energy is actually very powerful, and it has a way of indirectly working itself and working others and being extremely influential. But society has systematically trained women to adopt a masculine shell. So because of this masculine shell, which is covering the feminine, many problems have resulted from this. And the first one I want to get into, and probably the most notable, is the rise of the feminine man. So why am I relating these two together? Why is the feminine man related to the masculine woman? I'm sure you have some ideas about this. But we have a masculine man at his core. Again, I'm talking about as his core. He's a masculine man. And what's happened is he started to adopt this shell of feminism or femininity around himself. Okay? Now, this is very killing in the area of sexual dynamism, because a feminine woman is not attracted to a feminine man. Okay? And so, and most women are feminine at their core. Not all of them, but most of them are feminine at their core. Most men are masculine at their core. Again, not all of them, but the vast majority are. So when you have a feminine woman here who is projecting out masculinity, in order for these two to get along, one of them has to go what's called negative. And when I say negative, I don't mean bad negative. I mean just receptive. So think of it as reception, as a feminized type of state. So because she's projecting out a plus here and wanting to direct the man around, he is starting to take on this feminine type of energy. And through lots and lots and lots of societal conditioning, he's being reinforced to take on this feminine energy around him. And at his core, he knows he's masculine, but the more and more he develops this ego state, he starts to lose himself. Now, society at large does not encourage women to be feminine, and it does not encourage men to be masculine. Both of these behaviors are punished. You see this even in grade school, where boys are punished if they act like boys. If they maybe get in a fight or they start acting up, they are really ostracized. I used to work in this psychiatric clinic in Seattle, and women basically could break tons of rules. There would be hardly any consequence. They would never kick these women out of the program. Whereas if a man came in and they did one thing wrong, a white man I'm talking about, if it was a black man, they would let him get away with anything. But if it was a white man that came in and did one thing wrong, they would kick him out of the program. And so they would reward the women for being kind of out there and even masculine. And if the men behaved out of line just one little inch, they're gone. All right? So we're teaching these men that they need to take on more of a receptive, less assertive attitude, and we're teaching the women to be like men. Now, as a man myself, and as one who knows other men, it's not attractive to meet a masculine shelled woman. There's a sense of just being ingenuine when you meet these people. Also, there's no sexual tension there. It is rare to meet in today's times, from the age range of 18 on up to 40, on up to 45, to meet a truly feminine woman. Most women out there who are single are carrying this masculine shell around them. And I want to take a little side street down and tell you why this is. Why did we even have this to begin with? Why do we have the masculine and the feminine roles to begin with? And I think this is going to bring some insight into why the shell is so fake and why it doesn't work. Well, in traditional society, we had the man and we had the female, and we lived greatly for thousands and tens of thousands of years in these two roles. We had the masculine who did one thing and the feminine who did one thing. And these roles are ingrained in our DNA. It's how it plays out. It's the natural progression. Some may even say, and I even say, that God created us this way. And certainly nature has intended us to act in this way. It's a natural state. But here it is. So you have the feminine, or the female, who is the homemaker. And you maybe have a village of many different households. And this masculine man would go out and he would go on these hunts for days and days and days. He'd go out and hunt for food and kill wild animals, big, huge animals, dangerous animals. And then after days and days, he'd bring that home to the female. And the female was keeping charge at the home, kids. She was watching over them. And also she was making clothes. She was taking the food. She was cleaning the food. She was cooking the food and keeping watch over the household. And so we had these roles. And men would go off, they'd band with other men and leave the village and go track down these animals again for 4 days at a time on up to 10 days at a time. They'd go out and looking for food, and they bring that back to their homes, and it worked like this. Everyone had their roles. You had perfect harmony. Now, when feminism started in the 1920s, which is about 100 years ago, women started to go out into this outer circle, this outer ring. And they started to act in this role as a man did for tens of thousands of years. Now, whether you agree with this or not, that's not the point. The point is that women started having to take on certain characteristics to be successful in this outer ring. Number one, they had to be very protective of themselves. Because if you're out in the wild and you have a tiger stalking you, or you have a buffalo charging you, you have to know how to defend yourself. And so you're going to be strong, you're going to be on guard, you're going to know how to navigate a dangerous situation, and you're also going to be more perceptive and defensive around you, more kind of self-aware when you're around, because you can't let someone attack you when you're out either by yourself or just with a group of other females, right? So that's what happened. And this was the rise of the masculine shell around the feminine. Now, true feminine energy is very receptive to a masculine male. Now, the difference between a masculine male and a feminine male is very stark. A masculine male is dominant. A masculine male is assertive. He is conquering. He wants to dominate that feminine energy. He wants to penetrate that feminine energy. And many feminine women crave that. In fact, all of them crave that. They crave that alpha male leader. But because they've taken on this themselves, what happens is if you get two masculine energies, I'm going to draw this again. Let's say you have a true masculine here who has masculine inner and a masculine outer, and then you have a feminine woman who's taken on this fake, and I draw this with dots because it's a fake ego state, it's very brittle, and these two meet, you have a plus and a plus, the plus symbolizing the masculine. What's going to happen is you're going to have conflict. And if you don't have conflict, you're going to end up in some sort of friendship where you're relating to each other on the masculine plane. So what happens is either these two either butt heads because she's trying to uphold this fake masculine ego, and he's truly in the masculine. He's made to dominate. He's made as a leader. God made him this way. And she may be a leader too, but she's not meant to lead in the masculine. She's meant to lead in the feminine, which has a whole different way of leading than the masculine. Society wants the women to think that they are supposed to lead as a masculine. And this creates lots of dysfunction. Now, what's going to happen here in this dynamic when you have a masculine male meet a feminine is her shell is going to start to break. And she's going to feel anger because there's cognitive dissonance going on. The ego is a fake state. It's an imagined state. Whereas a true ego that's in alignment with one's core is stable. But when she meets a masculine male, that's going to be challenged because he's going to be settled in that energy and she can't match that. And so she's left with two choices. Either she fights where they butt heads and she feels lots of cognitive dissonance and anger and frustration, or she submits back into her feminine, which because this feminine nature has not been developed out and knows how to relate to dominant masculines, she's going to feel kind of insecure. So what usually happens is they either butt heads or she tries to be friendly towards him, and maybe they're just kind of friendly towards each other, but there's not much dynamism in terms of sexual chemistry. Okay? On a work level, it usually happens where she tries to maintain the ego and is just frustrated inside and carries that in her core of this frustration of this masculine male. Now, you see this a lot in workplaces where women have been promoted to these positions and they don't know how to lead effectively through their feminine core. And these women, typically known as bitches, or they're saying one thing, but you can tell there's incongruence there. That's exactly what's going on. You have a feminine woman who's never been taught how to be feminine and is carrying a fake masculine shell. Now, I want to get to how this affects today's man. There's also an epidemic of feminine men. The feminine men have been spawned by society on one hand, but also by these masculine women. Now let's take this same instance over here. So we have a masculine man, and then we have a so-called masculine female over here, who is really, by the way, a feminine woman at her core, but she's taken on this fake masculine energy. But this is how it can also play out. So this is scenario number one. This is going to be scenario number two. Now, when they meet, there's going to be a challenge. Her masculine is going to be in a plus, by the way. This is important to understand. She's positive. This means she's asserting her masculinity onto this man. And if this man has a choice when she first meets this person, he's either going to turn into a feminine himself, which is a huge problem, or he's going to reassert his masculine, which is this where they start butting heads. What most men do in today's world is they start bringing up this fake feminine, which looks like this, by the way. Okay. Now, if she's really perceptive, she's going to see that this isn't really congruent with who he really is, and they're both going to not really trust each other. They're both going to see each other as being ingenuine and not congruent with themselves. So in today's world, 2022 at the time of this recording, you see loads and loads and loads of young people in this situation. And so again, because he's taken a fake feminine shell, he's a negative. She's the man wearing the pants, and he's the feminized male. Okay? Now, at this point, there may initially be some sexual attraction, but it fizzles out because she sees that he's putting up a false front. He sees that eventually she's putting up a false front, and they don't really come to terms on how to behave with each other to sustain that attraction, and they start losing respect from each other. And of course, she's definitely going to lose respect for him because he's acting like a chick. And he sees her and he's wondering, why is this beautiful woman acting like a dude? Why is she so linear in her thinking? And this is most likely, if you are a man in today's society, you are single, this is why you can't find a right kind of girl, because they've all turned in, not all of them, I shouldn't say all of them, they've all turned into these masculinized women. Okay? Now, if you're a female and you can't find a masculine male, what's happened is society has influenced this man, or lots of these men, by the way, to take on this feminine shell, and it's very unattractive. It's not this masculine leader that has been for thousands of years. He's taken on this different role. So, I'm going to leave it there for now. I will be doing more on this. Feel free to comment below on this. Again, this is an epidemic in tremendous proportions, and it's dragging down society. Whenever you have feminine men trying to lead, they don't lead properly. Whenever you have women who are trying to take on a fake masculine role, society also breaks down, and they start, because this is not a true shell, you see how I've dotted it here? The weakness starts to show through, and it's very much permissive, and starts allowing things like evil and poverty and destruction. And that's why you see lots of these cities just going downhill, because they're led by females who at their core are feminine, putting on a fake masculine front. Okay, so I hope this was helpful for you. Again, if you like this video, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and I look forward to seeing you in the future.